While Republicans are campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire, Joe Biden isn't moving. The president isn't campaigning, and he won't debate anybody. And even Hollywood knows this isn't right.
And I cannot get over the fact that the Democratic National Committee is saying there will not be a debate to decide the nominee for president. Are you kidding me? Over an 80-year-old man who, if he lives, will be the oldest sitting president in the history of the country. And if he doesn't live, has a vice president whose approval rating is worse than his. This guy is obviously declining mental faculties. You're putting him up in front of a podium with flashcards telling him who to call on and what the questions are going to be. And you're telling us there's no debate? What about the will of the people? This was a democracy of the people, by the people, for the people. If we don't have a debate, this is not a democracy by the people. It's a democracy by them.
So when Dawson's Creek speaks, America listens. But Joe Biden doesn't have to listen. He doesn't have to talk. He doesn't even have to walk. Joe Biden's campaign strategy is to arrest his opponent and then not campaign. Arrest his opponent, not debate, not campaign. And the binder says she's not allowed to talk about why Joe Biden won't campaign.
It's been more than a month since the re-election announcement. Is President Biden going to hold a campaign event ever?
So I will say this to you, Peter. As you know, we follow the rule of law here. We believe in following the rule of law as it relates. Hold on. As it relates.
Not asking you to weigh in on the impact of the election, just his schedule. You'll have to schedule around rallies.
I'm about to answer your question here. As it relates to anything that that is connected to the campaign, any rallies, any events, any endorsement, anything that is connected to the 2024 re-election, that is not going to certainly come from here. That is going to come from his campaign or the DNC or the DNC.
So you can't say if he will be campaigning for re-election.
I'm just not going to comment from here.
So what can Binder comment on? Well, she can't talk about the campaign. She can't talk about Hunter. She can't talk about the DOJ or the FBI. She can't talk about active investigations, future investigations, conversation Biden has with foreign leaders, conversations he had with his own VP. Can't talk about Biden's personal life or his health. Hey, Binder, what's President Biden's first name? Oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to weigh in on that from the podium. Well, maybe Joe Biden can weigh in on Joe Biden then.
Mr. President, how's the re-election campaign going? Because we haven't seen you on the campaign trail yet.
You haven't?
Not at an official campaign rally. No, why
not? You know, for the people who wouldn't shut up about democracy for the last 2 years, I mean, is this what democracy looks like? Biden's Department of Justice is just going to indict Trump. Well, they haven't really figured out what the crimes are going to be yet. I mean, it's kind of like if Joe Biden goes to a steakhouse. He's either going to get the filet, the sirloin, or the porterhouse, but he's definitely getting steak. If you don't debate, you don't have a democracy. But if you arrest your opponent, you don't have a country. Now, the media used to pull its hair out when Trump's audience would chant, "Lock her up." But Biden's actually going to lock Trump up. This is going to be the most ridiculous election since, well, the last election.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.